Welcome to Nugget 250 with Steve and Dana Groman. And I want to let you know that this will be a two-parter, and I don't want you to miss Nugget 251. And we're going to be talking about those big fans that you see out on the highway. The Discover magazine, May-June of 2022, had their feature article was called Power for the Future, Inside America's Biggest Offshore Wind Farm. I thought, wow, I never had heard of that or thought of the wind farms being out offshore. We have seen many of them as we travel across the nation, but I thought, this is interesting. We've been wanting to do a nugget on alternative energy, and this is like, okay, this is the opportunity to do that. Catching wind. The first major offshore wind project in the U.S. is finally underway, with many others on the horizon. What took so long? Here are some cool pictures of these guys scaling and working on getting these things set up. Capturing offshore wind in the U.S. has long been an uphill battle, with various stumbling blocks in the terrain, objections from fisheries, skepticism from conservationists, and tenuous support from tourism have all stalled development. In the past decade, that is, until May of 2021, when the U.S. Department of Interior approved construction of a sprawling wind facility several miles off the coast of Martha's Vineyard. The project marks the first large-scale offshore wind undertaking in the U.S. and includes 62 turbines that will power more than 400,000 homes and businesses. And then they go on to mock the Trump administration and give kudos to this current administration. Some interesting features of this article was a breakdown of electricity by source in the U.S. as of 2020. 60% are fossil fuels. Of that, 40% is natural gas, 19% coal, 0.7% petro and other. Did you see that? This is the source of electricity. 20% of it is renewables, 8.4% wind, 7.3% hydroelectric, 2.3% solar, 1.4% biomass, 0.4% geothermal, with the remaining 20% coming from nuclear energy. And I just want to make a note of, we were listening to a gentleman one time and he was talking about the electric cars and how they all want us to start driving electric cars. He goes, do you know what would happen to the power grid when everyone got home from work and plugged in their car? We would suffer the craziest brownouts and probably blackouts. It's just an impossibility at this point in time. They go on in this article. It's quite extensive, and it is a very interesting concept for sure. I think they're heinous, horrendous, ugly, and I can't stand them. When we travel across the country and I see them, a lot of times they're not running, sometimes they're burned up, and I understand that once they break, there is no fixing them. They must be replaced, and it's very costly. They have this installation and distribution diagram here. It has an onshore converter station, a port infrastructure, combined AC collector and DC converter platform, cable laying vessel, construction vessel. It's quite complex, as you can imagine. There are also people that worry about the birds and the sea life, and apparently the sea life has just gone ahead and continued to flourish on the basis of these offshore turbines. Birds are a different thing. There's a problem with birds with solar panels. It just bakes them, and with the wind turbines, there's a big problem with killing birds. U.S. Bureau of Ocean Energy Management researchers still puzzled over how turbines in oceans affect birds and fish. They recently started trying to assess the impact through the Real-Time Opportunity for Development Environmental Observation Project. And I wouldn't consider myself an environmentalist, but I am a Teddy Roosevelt-style conservationist. I love our nation and the beauty of the landscape. That is one of the reasons I can't stand these wind farms. And then they have some other interesting information. To get a sense of scale for one farm, a 1,000 megawatt project could require 70 to 80 turbines, covering approximately 115 square miles. That is half of the size of Chicago. As you can see, it's a vast amount of these turbines are required. The turbines themselves are spaced far apart, with more than 1 mile between each one for large turbines. If that sounds excessive, it helps to consider that just one modern turbine blade laid inside an American football stadium would nearly touch the goalpost on both sides. And if you've ever seen one of these going down the highway, it is quite a sight to see, especially when they have to turn We were actually stopped the other day as one of them was going under an overpass and trying to make a left-hand turn. It was quite interesting. While the turbines might be 24 miles from shore and in water more than 100 feet deep, the cables could run to a power station another 20 miles inland. And here is a chart on renewable energy growth in billion kilowatt hours as it has grown between 1950 and 2020. And as you can see, it has substantially increased over what has been the baseline of hydroelectric power from places such as Hoover Dam and Glen Canyon Dam in Arizona. Another problem, as I had mentioned, is when these things break, there's really no repairing them. And here is a bed of these blades that are being buried. It's just crazy. It goes on to say about dumping the gargantuan metal objects into landfills isn't exactly sustainable. That's true. What are you going to do with this junk? And they said that to offset the vast landfill impact seen here, engineers in Europe have used old turbine blades to build experimental pedestrian bridges. Well, I don't think that's going to make a big dent in the supply of these non-usable blades, that's for sure. And they talk about how the wind is so much stronger off the coast and these offshore turbines do really well. And here is a map from AWS True Power in the United States, the land-based and offshore annual average wind speed at 80 meters. And I'm going to stop here for this nugget, and I want to continue on. You won't want to miss that because I'm going to take you to some actual wind farms that we have visited and give you information on the top 10 U.S. states by wind energy capacity. Thank you.